Non-duality and the truth of your being is the real law of attraction. The law of attraction can serve as a helpful pointer at the beginning of our exploration into the nature of ourself and reality. It opens us up to the possibility that beliefs shape reality, and the lines between our consciousness, imagination, and the external world aren't as hard and rigid as we previously thought. It reveals deeper principles at work beyond pure materialism and separation. It reveals that we are not just prisoners to our current circumstances and beliefs, and that there is a power within consciousness for things to miraculously shift. However, the contemporary Western expression of the law of attraction personalizes what was known to be an impersonal power in the Eastern expressions of non-duality. You might know that Rhonda Byrne wrote the biggest-selling law of attraction book ever, The Secret, but what less people know is that her perspective evolved too. She more recently wrote another called The Greatest Secret, all about self-realization and non-duality. The law of attraction teaches that like attracts like, right? Thoughts create reality. Whilst there's relative truth to this, non-duality reveals a deeper principle at work, one that transcends the notion of a separate self trying to figure things out and to manifest desires. Non-duality points to the fundamental nature of reality as this undivided consciousness. It recognizes the manifesting power not to belong to the personal, separate, limited individual, for that is an illusion. It belongs to our true nature, this impersonal consciousness. From this perspective, there is no separate you that exists apart from the universe, attracting things to yourself. Rather, you are the infinite consciousness that is already manifesting as everything. The popular Western expression of the law of attraction often frames manifestation as a personal power. It suggests that an individual, through their thoughts and beliefs and feelings, can attract specific outcomes separate from them into their life. This approach reinforces the idea of a separate self who is the doer or attractor. Eastern non-dual traditions point to an impersonal universal power. This is often referred to as consciousness, awareness, Brahman, or the Tao. From this perspective, there is no separate individual doing the attracting. Instead, all manifestation is seen as the play of this one universal and impersonal consciousness. The Western approach often emphasizes individual agency. I create my reality. The non-dual view recognizes that the I itself is a manifestation of the impersonal consciousness. Thus, any apparent individual creation is actually the universal impersonal expressing itself through a particular individual form. The impersonal view of non-duality transcends the notion of an ego trying to manipulate reality for its own benefit. Instead, it points to the truth that you already are this manifesting consciousness appearing as everything. This manifesting consciousness can appear as a person, taking themselves to be just a person who's trying to visualize, ask, and believe and receive to get what they want, and always stuck in the wanting of it instead of the having of it. This manifesting consciousness can also appear as one that no longer overlooks their true nature, this one manifesting consciousness, and so naturally aligns with its inherent creative power, allowing inspiration and action to unfold effortlessly. The law of attraction speaks to a universal truth, but then personalizes it. It recognizes that our thoughts and beliefs create reality, but then continues in the paradigm that you're a limited person who's going to change those beliefs to attract what you want. The impersonal way recognizes thoughts and beliefs create reality, but it's more about who or what you're taking yourself to be. Are you taking yourself to be a limited individual who's separate from the universe, trying to vibrate at a high vibration to attract these apparently separate things to you? Or are you the consciousness in which all these inner beautiful visions and imaginations appear, and that you're not separate from them? The law of attraction suggests you need to vividly imagine and see and feel what you want as if it's already yours. In the non-dual recognition, we transcend the notion of it being as if it's already yours to recognize that it's already you, and you are not separate from it. The manifester and the manifested are recognized as one. In the act of visualizing and using the imagination, we are seeding consciousness with intention, but rather than it being a personal power, we recognize it to be the power of impersonal consciousness. And what's imagined without personal attachment in a clear consciousness can often magically and miraculously manifest. The law of attraction positions our emotions as an emotional guidance system, with negative feelings seen as a signal to show the individual that they are out of alignment and to move back to a high vibration and positivity. And whilst there's some truth to the notion that suffering can point us back home and back to what's true, it's not as simple as I feel uncomfortable and therefore I'm out of alignment and need to think positively. And this kind of view can perpetuate emotional repression and suppression as one attempts to get rid of the bad vibrations to let in the good ones. Non-dual recognition transcends the good-bad dichotomy. Instead of labeling emotions as high vibration and aligned or low vibration and misaligned, it invites us to see all emotions as valid expressions of consciousness, each offering its own wisdom and opportunity for deeper understanding. Low vibration emotions are recognized to likely be the latent, contracted feelings and limiting beliefs of the conditioning of the separate self left in the body-mind system. As we relax, as the open awareness that naturally accepts and allows all emotions and feelings equally, these contracted feelings can be processed and released. And this is when the manifestations appear to happen. Visualization, clarity, and belief are surely important, but the appearance of the manifestation is often much less to do with getting yourself into a high vibe state where you believe it enough, and more to do with the release of all the contracted feelings and limiting beliefs surrounding what's desired. It doesn't matter how clear and hard you visualize something if there's a ton of contracted emotions surrounding the idea of what you want. As these are ever increasingly released, there's an ever increasing relaxing back into one's true nature as effortless open awareness, and the means to manifest what's desired is ever increasingly revealed. The path to manifestation becomes less about you being an individual trying to get yourself into a high vibration, and instead recognizing that your true nature is the source of all vibration, relaxing into that revelation and allowing all the previously held contracted feelings and limiting beliefs to ever increasingly fall away in the light of presence. The law of attraction sees manifesting as a result of letting go, but positions this letting go as a personal action. It may appear as a personal action, which is why it appears to work. But what's really being let go of is not just the attachment to the outcome, but the whole personal story around it, the whole identity around it. Within that, there is a resting and relaxing back into impersonal consciousness, meaning the power of impersonal consciousness starts to flow through the person. It couldn't do that when everything was personal, with the presence of a story that says, I need this. When that's dropped, it's not just the need for the object that's dropped, It's the whole identification to an I that apparently needs anything, and a relaxing back into the impersonal I of consciousness that's ultimately needless and desireless. The act of letting go in the law of attraction accidentally relaxes the practitioner back into their true nature as boundless awareness. This opening to the flow of life, rather than the personal act of letting go, is what allows for apparent manifestation. When we personally let go, we reduce this personal resistance. But from the non-dual perspective, this resistance is the tension created by identifying with the separate self in the first place and the latent limiting beliefs and contracted emotions. Letting go momentarily relaxes this identification and some of the tension. But in the moment of true letting go, we transcend the wanting self altogether. This is followed by a relaxing as our true nature, which is already complete and doesn't need anything. Paradoxically, this natural state of not wanting is more conducive to manifestation. So it's not so much that an individual lets go, it's the recognition that you are not that limited individual to begin with, and what you essentially are, this consciousness, is already non-attached just by its nature. All attachment appears in personal stories. Before the personal stories, there is impersonal consciousness in which there is no concept of personal attachment. So the Western law of attraction can be helpful to a degree as evolution of our understanding. It moves beyond pure materialism, but hasn't yet fully embraced the non-dual perspective. However, it's a bridge for many. The law of attraction suggests our thoughts and consciousness can influence external reality, implying a deeper interconnectedness between our inner and outer worlds. Non-duality recognizes that they were never separate to begin with. When we take ourselves to be a separate, limited individual, we experience the result of that belief in the apparent external world to an ever-increasing degree. When we rest as our true nature, the effortless infinite being, the apparent external world ever-increasingly reflects that truth. It doesn't mean that you instantly manifest everything or that life goes without challenges, but it does turn life into a kind of yoga where the creation of your inner visions gives you potent opportunities to uproot the contracted emotions and doubts within yourself so they are ever increasingly released and you're ever increasingly relaxed as the natural flow of manifesting consciousness that you truly are. When we recognize our true nature as boundless awareness, several profound shifts in line with the law of attraction occur. There is a natural shift from scarcity to abundance because the separate self-experience always feels inherently lacking, always seeking fulfillment. But our true nature, as this consciousness, is already whole and complete. From this place of wholeness, we naturally attract positive experiences, not out of need, but as an expression of our intrinsic abundance. You are the abundance, you are the money. In truth, we are not attracting these experiences because they were never separate from us to attract to us. They are already present within infinite consciousness, just not currently appearing on the screen of consciousness. When they actually happen, they are just that current tiny slice of infinite consciousness appearing on the screen of consciousness. And the screen of consciousness can appear as anything. There's effortless manifestation. Instead of struggling to control our thoughts to attract what we want, our personal human self aligns with the spontaneous creative flow of consciousness itself. Our desires arise from a deeper place of intuitive wisdom and recognition of our inherent non-separateness rather than wholly personal and ego-based wants. The law of attraction recognizes that much of what blocks manifestation is our resistance to what is. Non-dual recognition is the revelation that we are not a separate, limited person who can resist or not resist. We are the already non-resistant and completely accepting space of consciousness that allows all its forms to flow unimpeded. Resting in this recognition starts an ever-increasing dissolution of any mental or body-based inner friction that might impede flow. Non-duality resolves the paradox of manifestation by recognizing that while apparent effort may occur, it's all happening within and as this impersonal consciousness. This leads to a state of effortless effort or non-doing doing. We see that we are not a separate entity attracting things to ourselves. Rather, we are the aware space in which all experiences arise. The attractor and the attracted are recognized as appearances within the same infinite and indivisible consciousness. Instead of overthinking how to manifest our desires, we ever increasingly turn down the invitations to believe that we are the one who's overthinking. And we ever increasingly relax as the innate intelligence of consciousness expressing through the person. Spontaneous ideas, inspirations, hunches, and intuitions arise to manifest what's desired. Non-duality resolves the paradox of personal desire. In letting go of the personal desires, or more accurately, in the falling away of identification with the personal I who desires, we open up to the unknown and the infinite possibility, and yet, counterintuitively, more of our personal desires manifest. Non-duality reveals that we are not separate entities using the law of attraction, but the very power of attraction itself. We are the infinite consciousness dreaming this entire reality into being. As we awaken to this truth and release the limiting beliefs and contracted emotions, the limitless creative flow of the universe is ever increasingly expressed through the person. This doesn't mean that we bypass the human experience or deny the appearance of individual choice and desire. Rather, we engage life from a place of true wisdom, harmony, and love. We recognize that our deepest fulfillment doesn't come from accumulating experiences, but from realizing our true nature as the awareness in which all experiences arise. We recognize ourselves to already be the infinite love, so more of that love is expressed ever increasingly in our experience. We may not become a saint instantly. It doesn't mean that, but it does create the perfect foundation for finding and releasing all our blocks to love, so eventually only expressions of love remain. The law of attraction says the manifestation will come with trust and surrender, which has some truth, but positions it as something that a separate individual is going to do. Non-duality points to the recognition that you already are this trust and surrender. All the distrust and resistance is recognized to be in identification with being a separate limited entity, and in the silent spaciousness of consciousness without personalization, all there is trust and surrender. There is just what is. Trust and surrender is never an individual walking around thinking to themselves, "Now I trust and surrender." It's the end of identification with the distrusting, resistant thoughts and the release of that feeling. When that falls away, all that remains is awareness, which is what it always was. Awareness can appear as distrusting, resistant thoughts. Don't have to be believed in. The law of attraction says, feel what you would feel as if you had what you desired. Non-duality points to the recognition that all you're feeling is yourself, and that it was you who you desired all along. The true you, beingness, peace, love, wholeness, fulfillment. This is the real secret. Not that we can get everything that we want, but that we already are everything we've ever longed for. And from this recognition, life unfolds with a magic and synchronicity that no technique could ever manufacture. For one-on-one coaching inquiries, go to speaktoalex.com. See you in the next video. Peace.